Here we go. We're going to take a look quickly at the differences in color in Illustrator. We will first open up a new document, just regular document here, and I am going to take a look at some swatches. If you take a look at the swatch panel here, the swatches are all set up. Here we have solid swatches, we have gradient swatches right over here, we have pattern swatches, and we have groups. Down along the bottom we have our library swatch menu, our open color themes panel, our Adobe Clouds library panel. We have just show swatches, and if we can go show swatch, just color swatches, just gradient swatches, just pattern swatches, which there's two, or just color groups. So if you want, you can quickly drill down to just what you need, or you can look at the whole thing. We can also show swatch options. We have our new color group and new color swatch. So if we want, let's take a look real quick. Let's grab a color here. We'll double click on it. In Illustrator, we have two basic color modes that we're going to be working with. We have CMYK and we have RGB. Okay? When we're doing anything print-wise, paper printing, magazines, brochures, annual reports, books, stuff like that, we are going to take a look at CMYK because we're going to have things color separated out when it goes to press, so it has to be set up in CMYK. CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay? RGB is anything that's going to be on the screen, done for the web, or for project your PowerPoint, CD-ROM, stuff like that. And that's red, green, blue. So let's take a quick look at what's going on here. If we go to CMYK, how many people remember kindergarten art class? You're going to mix colors. You're going to add, if you add cyan and magenta, you get purple. If you add cyan and yellow, you get green. If you add magenta and you add yellow, you're going to get red, and then mix things in between. So if we have RGB is not as cut and dry, but we can adjust colors and make colors as we go. If I decide that I want to build a couple of shapes out here, and as you can see, all these shapes have a stroke and a fill. The fill is all the green, and we can get to the swatches also from up here, and our stroke from up here. We can also get to our stroke and fill from over here in the swatches panel. If I want to adjust this green color, I can just double click and I can adjust the color. If I hit the preview button, which is unchecked by some unknown reason, by default that should be checked, we can now change this color. We can also add a new color by clicking on the new swatch panel, and we're going to change this around until we get what we want and hit OK. So now this color has changed. So if I want, I can come over here, change all three of these to that new swatch color. If I want to, I can say, all right, if I double click on this swatch color, hit the preview button, and I change the color, nothing changes. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to select one color, double click on that swatch again, and if I adjust that color, hit the preview button, you'll notice that it changes this one box. That's all fine and dandy. Whatever I have selected, when I change the color in the swatches panel, it will change what's in there because I have that selected. What happens if I have, let's going to undo that again so they're all the same color, and I say double click this to change the color, preview it, and as I'm changing it, notice they're not changing because I don't have it selected, so I'm going to cancel this. I'm sorry. Have that selected. Going to double click to change this, hit the preview button. make this a little darker. You can see this getting darker. But right up here in global, if I hit global and hit OK, now this has changed. These have not. Even though they were the same color, I didn't have them selected. So if I change that color now, so all three of these are the same color swatch as this green that I just made. Notice the swatch has this white box with an angled tag on the bottom. That means it's a global color swatch. So if my client calls and says, hey, I need you to change the color of those boxes just slightly lighter, I can come in here, hit the preview button, change the color of these, and because it's a global color, whatever shapes have that global color applied to them, they will all change at once, which is a huge time saver. Okay, so we have all these selected, and we can change those colors. If we want, we can add a new color just by coming in here and adjusting some of these colors and say, okay, by default, it's going to give you a swatch name by whatever the makeup of the color is. If it's 22 cyan, 72 magenta, 100. So we can highlight this if we want, and we can call it a rust color. And we can now add this. And notice it has the little tag on it, because the last color that I played with, I checked that. So I can uncheck that if I want, or I can go in and double check, click and check it on so that it's a global color. Now, if we want, we can also create a spot color. Spot colors mean that we're going to use that color every time, so especially with colors like, Security Mutual Blue is 287 blue. It's a swatch, a spot color swatch. So if I am going to create a spot color, when I click on this and add this color that I just made, that is a color I'm going to save, and I'm going to put it so my logo appears in that color every time, so that we don't have color variation. If we come to our color swatch library, there are all kinds of color stuff that we can add to our color swatches. Foods, gradients, kid stuffs, metal, nature, blah, blah, blah. But color books are the one I want to take a look at. Color books, we're going to go to Pantone Solid Coated. And these are a set of colors across the board. So if I go, Security Mutual's blue is 287, okay? That's the color that we use on our corporate blue. So I'm going to drag that color into the swatches panel. I'm going to check that. I'm going to highlight all these, and I'm going to change all those to 287 blue. That's a Pantone matching system. So if I send a job to a printer in, let's say, California, say, please print this job, and our logo set up in Illustrator will appear in 287 blue, Pantone 287 blue. So they will get it correctly. If it gets printed in Germany, I can say, please use Pantone matching system color 287 blue for our logo. They put that color in the printer, and we get it printed the exact same color every time. So spot colors and solid colors and global colors, pretty easy, pretty cool, and that's how it goes.